I was 32, standing under a cascade of crystal and roses at my own engagement party, celebrating the fact that I had finally truly escaped my family. Then my father, John, cornered me. He didn't ask, he demanded. Give Lucas your $50,000 wedding fund, or you won't walk down any aisle. When I refused, he raised his hand and slapped me. In front of 150 guests. In front of my fiancée. What he didn't know was that he just committed battery on property that no longer belonged to him, or the family. He just committed the ultimate act of betrayal inside the very investment I was about to use to crush him. The air in the grand ballroom of the Grand Manor was electric, a perfectly curated symphony of opulence and aspiration. It was the kind of luxury that whispered, not shouted. Overhead, the vintage chandeliers, true antiques. I checked the deed, cast a soft, golden light on 150 of our carefully selected guests. The scent of white avalanche roses and aged French champagne, a 2012 Billicart salmon, Damien's favorite, was intoxicating. I was 32, a senior software engineer at a major Silicon Valley satellite office in Seattle, recently relocated to New York City to be closer to Damien. I had spent the last 15 years of my life creating an impenetrable wall of professional success around myself, brick by hard-won brick. That wall was designed for one purpose: to shield me from the corrosive financial and emotional control of the Harrington family. My fiancé Damien, 34, stood beside me, a rock of logic and fierce protectiveness. He was an M and a real estate attorney, sharp as a tack, possessing the kind of quiet authority that my father, John, always pretended to have. Damien was my equal, my partner, and the one person who saw the scars my family had left. The irony of this glorious night was not lost on me. My mother, Susan, 58, kept smoothing down her dress, preening for her friends, basking in the glow of my achievement. My father, John, 60, was performing his role as the proud patriarch, shaking hands with Damien's most influential clients, partners from his firm, Clayton and Thorne. They believed this was their night, a testament to their breeding and success. The entire cost of this elaborate engagement party, and the entirety of our planned wedding budget, came from my personal, sacrosanct $50,000 wedding fund. I started saving for this when I was 16, working every summer, skipping college parties, and putting in the hours. This fund wasn't just for catering and flowers, it was my ultimate shield. It meant I would never have to be obligated to my parents for the most important day of my life. Accepting their money was accepting their ownership. I refused to let them buy my happiness. Then there was Lucas, 30. My brother, the eternal golden child, who never worked, never saved, and never succeeded. He was the vortex around which all my parents' resources, financial and emotional, spun. Lucas was currently trying to sell himself as a fintech disruptor, having launched his third doomed enterprise, a highly suspect, non-regulated crypto brokerage startup. I knew it was failing when Lucas started attending family functions wearing a jacket 2 sizes too big and drinking too much. The latest crisis, I learned through a nervous whisper from my mother 2 days ago, was a $50,000 shortfall that was due to an investor, a Mr. Sal Romano, the following Tuesday. The venue itself was the financial bomb waiting to explode. The Grand Manor was one of the most prestigious event spaces in New Jersey, a former estate-turned-revenue generator. 6 months ago, Damien, leveraging his expertise in distressed assets, had noticed the property was carrying a significant, overlooked commercial note tied to the operating company. We didn't just rent the ballroom for the night. Damien and I quietly structured a deal, created an LLC, and purchased the operating company and the underlying commercial debt for the Grand Manor. We were now the landlords and the owners of the business that ran the venue. My parents were convinced they'd negotiated a magnificent family discount. In reality, they were hosting their public display of wealth in my house. This venue was my ultimate insurance policy. It was 8:30 p.m. The waiters had just cleared the main course, a ridiculously expensive Chilean sea base, and the band was taking a break. The room was loud with happy chatter. I felt a tap on my shoulder. It was Dad. Clara. Now, he commanded, his eyes already showing the familiar, dangerous glint of desperation and entitlement. He steered me abruptly into the crystal room, a small, ornate space near the coat check, typically used for private phone calls. Lucas was already waiting there, fidgeting nervously with the cufflink that was likely leased for the night. Lucas is in trouble, Dad began, not with a question or a plea, but with a statement of fact that required my immediate capitulation. He has until Tuesday. 50,000. The margin call failed. I crossed my arms. That's 3 times in 4 years, Dad. His business model is take Mom and Dad's money and buy a sports car. I'm not bailing him out this time. This is different. Lucas burst out, his voice a panicked whine. This is Romano. He's not a bank. He's serious. They'll ruin me. They'll ruin all of us. You should have thought of Sal Romano before you set up a Ponzi scheme with your college buddies, I retorted coldly. My father slammed his fist, not on a table, but against the gilded wall next to my head. The sound startled me. Enough, Clara, he roared, his face mottled with fury. This isn't a discussion about ethics. This is about the family's reputation. If Lucas fails, we all look like failures. We need that money now, and you are sitting on $50,000 that is currently doing nothing but waiting for a dress fitting. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do, I said, my voice hardening. It's securing my independence. It's paying for the wedding you tried to derail last Christmas. It is my money. I earned it. And the answer is absolutely not. You can liquidate your retirement annuities, Dad. You're the one who guaranteed Lucas's loan. That was the key. He had co-signed. He was truly desperate. You selfish, calculating little witch, my father hissed, spitting the words with undisguised hatred. We put you through college. We housed you. We gave you everything. You gave me a constant reminder that I was less than my brother. I paid my own way through grad school. And I worked 2 jobs to get out of your shadow. That $50,000 is my freedom. And you won't take it from me. His eyes narrowed to slits. I saw the moment the decision was made. The moment his lifetime of frustration with my independence, my success, and my refusal to serve his golden child, finally boiled over into physical violence. You will give him the money, he articulated slowly, his voice laced with venom. Or you won't walk down any aisle at all. I shook my head, my eyes fixed on his. Go to hell, Dad. That was it. The final act of defiance. He reared back his right hand, the hand that had signed the checks for Lucas, the hand that had never hugged me with genuine warmth, and brought it forward in a wide, vicious arc smack. The sound was not just loud, it was deafening. It resonated in the small room, a harsh, brutal punctuation mark in the silent music gap. The shock made my ears ring. My head snapped to the side, and the sudden, searing pain on my cheekbone and eardrum was excruciating. I felt a warm, metallic rush in my mouth. I'd bitten the inside of my cheek. Lucas gasped. My father stood there, chest heaving, his face a sudden mask of terrifying panic and immediate regret. He had done the unthinkable. The crystal room door was flung open. Damien had seen the final, sickening motion from the main hall. He was across the room in a blur of expensive wool, his eyes locked onto my father. John, you touch her again, and I swear, I will ruin you. Damien's voice was lethal, shaking with suppressed violence. He didn't ask if I was okay, he knew I wasn't. He was ready to fight. I placed my hand on Damien's arm, my fingers digging in. My heart was pounding a frantic drumbeat, but a deep, icy calm, a calculated serenity, washed over me. The pain was secondary. The opportunity was everything. I pushed Damien aside and stepped out into the main ballroom, holding my burning cheek. The music had stopped entirely. Every head was turned. The silence was heavy judging. My mother rushed forward, not to check on me, but to smooth Dad's jacket. Clara, please, she begged, eyes darting nervously at Damien's partners. Let's just go to the car. We'll talk about the money. I cut her off, my voice carrying clearly across the stunned room. There is nothing to discuss, Susan, I announced, using her first name, something I hadn't done since I was 10. I walked slowly towards the center of the room, my focus entirely on my father, who was now realizing the depth of his exposure. You struck me, Dad, I stated, my voice flat, devoid of emotion, like a prosecutor presenting evidence. You committed physical assault. You did it because I refused to surrender $50,000, money I earned, to pay for Lucas's incompetence. You chose violence over decency. You chose him over me. Fine. I paused, letting the silence maximize the gravity of my next words. Since you have decided to ruin this party with an act of battery, let me ensure that the ruin is complete and permanent. I pulled out the envelope I had kept tucked away, the one with the deed summary and the LLC documents. To all our distinguished guests, many of whom are my fiancé's professional colleagues, I announced, raising the envelope. My father believes he is a powerful man, capable of dictating terms and resorting to violence. He is mistaken. He is a guest. I looked directly at my terrified father. Dad, you just assaulted me on my own property. The gasp that swept through the crowd was palpable. My father's jaw dropped, and he took an involuntary step back, his eyes frantically searching the ornate pillars. Damien and I did not merely rent the Grand Manor for the night, I explained, addressing the room with the professional composure of a CEO. We purchased the entire operating company and the underlying deed 6 months ago. We own this building. We are your hosts. And now, we are executing a legal eviction against trespassers who have committed a crime on the premises. I handed the key card and the document to Damien. Damien, I want John and Susan Harrington and Lucas Harrington removed. Now. Do not let them retrieve anything from the coat check without a police escort. I want a restraining order filed by morning, citing today's event and the witness list. My mother started to weep hysterically. John, what did you do? We'll lose everything. Lucas screamed. Clara, please. The $50,000. I'll go to prison. My father was utterly paralyzed, his face a roadmap of crushing defeat. He was physically lifted by one of the guards, his dignity utterly shredded in front of his peers. I took one final, devastating step. I looked at Lucas, then back at my father. Lucas is worried about prison, and Dad is worried about $50,000, I said to the room, making sure my voice carried. But the real issue is Mr. Sal Romano. Mr. Romano holds the deed to Lucas's failed company, and he also happens to hold the lien on the Harrington Management office building downtown. The one where Dad keeps his retirement assets. The one he secretly co-signed with Lucas as collateral. I watched the realization hit my father like a physical blow. Lucas's $50,000 debt wasn't just his problem. It was the financial fuse connected to my father's entire retirement. I will not pay Lucas's debt. I concluded, the ultimate, lethal rejection. But I will ensure that the police report for the assault tonight gets shared with the state attorney's office, who will then be very interested in Lucas's financial dealings with Mr. Romano. And when they investigate Lucas, they will inevitably investigate your co-signed debt and your collateral, Dad. You traded a few seconds of cheap, spiteful violence for your entire financial future. I watched as the security guards dragged my father, pale and whimpering, out of the ballroom. My mother and Lucas followed, a spectacle of humiliated entitlement. I turned back to my guests, who were now standing in silent, respectful awe. I raised my champagne glass, ignoring the throbbing pain in my cheek. To new beginnings, I declared. The wedding is still on, folks. The party is just starting. And for the first time in my life, I am entirely free. The applause was thunderous. Damien put his arm around me, and we stood together, the owners of the venue, the masters of the event, and the survivors of the Harrington family curse. The $50,000 was safe. My future was secure. And the family that tried to break me was broken instead.